Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Woohoo! Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
We were waiting for you. Welcome, everyone. While we wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to have the opportunity to join us, please zoom out of the board that you're seeing and do find your face. Find yourself on the whiteboards. And what we're going to do is we're going to dress you up. So you're going to design your clothes based on your mood today. So what's your mood? How you're feeling? Design your clothes as soon as you find your image on the board. Feel free to zoom in and out and navigate through the board like that. All you have to do is click on the pencil and start drawing. Hey, Francisco. So Isabel, you cannot zoom out. Can anyone else zoom out, in and out?
Maybe let's just close the music thing first.
Yes, go ahead and find those colors and design your pre-outfits. There we go. I see some dresses popping. You can add some hats. Whatever floats your boat. Welcome, everyone. Feel free to continue with your drawings. My name is Ana Maria. I am leading the community here at Butter. Really happy, excited, and half scared to be leading a session for fellow community builders and community managers about designing effective community events. So everything's really meta here for the next hour, so bear with me. It's really nice to see your faces, new and old faces. What we are going to do today, basically myself and Cheska are bringing our best top tools, tips and tricks, and the stuff that we have learned are working really well for us whenever we design community events. And we're split the session in 3 main parts, and we're going to tell you all about them in a second. And then in each of these parts, we're going to go into the concreteness in both experimenting some of the activities and tools and strategies we're using, and also verbalizing them or passing you those tips. So we won't be able to see everything, but we will see snippets of the things we're talking about. And with me today is Cheska. Cheska, wave it to the camera.
Hello.
Tell us who you are.
Thanks, Ana Maria. That was such a great segue, honestly. So I'm Cheska. I'm the one leading growth here at Butter, and I'm super duper excited to be with all of you because Ana Maria is such a passionate advocate for the community. I'm involved in a few communities myself, but it's always great. Like what I'm super inspired by is just the amount of inspiration and learnings that are present in all the communities you're forming. So I am actually like super duper humbled and grateful to be with all of you here. And what I would love to share, I'm not as much of a facilitation expert as Ana Maria is, but I have run my own events. So I'm happy to share some of the tips that we have when it comes to creating more engaging and collaborative events for you guys. So we'll be sharing a bit of framework and some tips, as Ana Maria mentioned. And my role here today will also be to support and make sure that if any of you guys have any technical difficulties, you can just actually shout and let me know if you need help. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Cheska. Give me a quick thumbs up if you've noticed the new reactions. H.A. Benoit, Butter Friends. Hey, look how pretty they are. So this was released today. New reactions are in the house. Okay, so I see that you're having fun with the reactions. before we move on with the session, I do want to mention that the session is being recorded. We're doing so with all of our events. I guess that is really familiar because we really want to democratize access to learning, and we want everyone to become a better facilitator. And thank you so much for playing along with our drawing boards. I love your outfits today. It's just at the beach, sipping a mojito, I think, right? Or having an ice cream. What is that? Looks great. Ice cream. There we go. I'm closing off the whiteboard because I do want to make sure that we're all on the same level whenever it comes to butter. I'm not sure if you, I know that some of you are really familiar with the tool. Give me a thumbs up if you know butter, and give me a thumbs down if this is your first time in this tool ever. Yes, so I see some thumbs down. And this is why I always come in prepared. Well, not always, almost always I try to come in prepared. And so I am bringing here my favorite feature in butter, which we call the flashcards. And I'm going to use them today for several objectives. And this one, as you will be able to tell in a second, works as a mini presentation, as a mini introduction to the main butter features that participants need to be aware of. And so let's see what we unravel here. Say it with emojis. I think we've all discovered the emojis. You're finding most of these commands on your left side of the screen. So feel free to just use them like generously throughout the session, right? We love to see all of your faces popping here and all your reactions. Then we've got a feature that it's called the queue, which makes it really, really fun to host Q&A sessions and to simply structure conversations. And I want you all to go ahead and give it a try. Just hit that queue icon and see how we're going to all be stacked up in the queue at the top of the set. There we go. More. So as people want to make an intervention, have an idea, add to the conversation, they can just place themselves in the queue, whereas you as a facilitator or host are able to pass them over the mic in the order they raise their hands. And so whoever has the mic gets the talking stick. And this means that it's very low the risk for people to actually interrupt, unmute, and talk on top of each other, which it's proving quite handy for big sessions. Say hello in the chat. I think we found the chat as well, and we've also found the GIFs in the chat. Is it GIFs, GIFs? I don't know. Pick your favorite. Feel free to communicate with us in the chat as well. We're going to keep an eye on that. A nifty feature are the personal notes. Those are truly personal. No one has eyes on them. You can just use it to take notes during your sessions, during your events, and then send them over to your email so you can keep track of everything you're learning in the sessions. And now a quick magic trick. If you hit your hotkey, you can unmute during the session. This comes quite in handy for those sneezes. I can quickly mute my mic and save you that trouble. And the same works with our hotkey V, and it's for us. So if you're feeling really funky today, we want to see your face. Otherwise, keep it off. That's also not an issue at all. And chat with us in the chat. So let's see, are you ready to get started? And the way this worksheet is an interactive flashcard, so you can actually hover over and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I would be really sad if I would receive a thumbs down, to be honest, but feel free, like. Exactly, so there we go. So if hitting on the flashcards, you are actually able to work with them. And we're going to see some examples later on as well. All right. Over to time, because hello, Ana Maria likes to talk. Who knows me knows that. That doesn't come as a surprise. And I think we've mentioned that we're going to split the session in 3 parts. And so I really want to start with showing you what this is all about. And that's not something that I invented by any means. This is quite a famous facilitation framework or workshop design framework. There's several of them. I brought the easiest one and the one that most resonates with myself. Whenever you're designing an event for your community, I always like to think with what happens at the launch? How do we launch the event? What happens in the first couple of minutes? What happens? How do we explore afterwards? What happens during the session? That's the meat of the session. And what do we have to mind when we're in there? And then how do we land the session? That's the ending of the session. And you're seeing those 2 sparkles in the launch and the land, because those are the most memorable moments of your events. So I really encourage, and that's what I strive myself to always make it a bit special, a bit different, memorable, so that the folks that are attending can take that experience and those emotions away with them. And with no further ado, let's kick it off with the lounge. The lounge is the beginning of your session, and it serves several purposes. Uh, First and foremost, you're setting the tone for the entire workshop, the entire event, the entire session. The way you start, it's usually the energy that you will have later on. You're letting the folks know, why are we here? What's going to happen? Why are we gathering? What are we going to do? What's the mood in the room? So this is the purpose of check-ins and small conversations to ease into the sessions. And also, it's your opportunity to build trust and create an open space. And for Butter, the launch of the session actually starts before you even open the room and welcome everyone in. The way we do that is through our waiting room, which I think you all had opportunity to see it for around 4 minutes today. You can upload your visual, you can upload your music to really get into that mood. Is it an upbeat session, a brainstorming? Is it a rather reflective session? Or are we using some cool down music, etc.? And then I think one of my favorite ways to start sessions is not with the slides. Very often I go into, especially webinars, and the first thing you're seeing when you're landing is the host with some slides, beautiful design, and they start doing what I'm doing now, ranting and going through the slides, right? When I land into a session, I want to be surprised. I want to feel like that I am there, that something captures my attention. And so engagement comes first. And my trick is always to invite contributions as early as possible. And those can look very different. I can ask people to drop something in the chat. I can ask them to show me something with an emoji. I can open a breakout room and do a quick impromptu networking from the beginning on. I can ask them to draw. So this looks very differently, but when people land, usually in our community events, they get to immediately keep busy, right? And land in that session. I always am a big fan of check-ins and a hot start. Check-in is a way to take the temperature in the room and see how everyone's feeling. So today the check-in was design your clothes according to your mood, right? So how am I feeling now? Where am I at? And how do I put that representatively, creatively on a paper? It can be a question. It can be a question in the chat. It can be a poll. And we can look through some of the examples as well. And the hot start activity, whenever you're having a purposeful session on something, it's really good to warm it up. And I use hot starts, especially for brainstorming sessions. And then a typical hot start is for a brainstorming session would be, and I'm sure that most of you know it, what are come up in 3 minutes with the different ways to use a paperclip, right? So the hot start is to get you in the mood for whatever it is to come. Clear agenda, Butter does that for us as well. On the top, you're always seeing the agenda, where we at, how many minutes do we still have, are we over time, are we within time, etc. And then we also have the house rules, and the house rules equal safety. So people are landing into sometimes a new space. Some of you have never been in Butter before. So that short little introduction at the beginning, we use the flashcards, but you can actually just have a slide or just verbalize them, telling people how can they ask questions. Do they use the chat? Do they unmute? Do they queue? What are the expected behaviors in case they want to add something? Can they keep their camera on, off? All of those things are very, very important to be verbalized, and make sure that everyone gets them and has the opportunity to understand what's expected from them. And Francisco, I'm passing the talking stick over to you. You'll have to unmute so we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. No, I think that Jessica already replied.
Okay.
I was asking about the slides, if we can show only one page at a time instead of the whole slide altogether scrollable. So I think that I'm done.
Okay.
Yes.
Jessica, thank you so much for keeping my back there in the chat. All right. And then the cherry on top of it all, it is, I always try, and this is really hard to do. can you start a session with a multi-sensory experience? Can there be images and videos and music? And can you actually ask people and invite them to make use of their space? This might involve some dancing in some cases, I don't know. That's the challenge that I leave it for you there. Now, I want to showcase a couple of the things that we've talked about. So this could be an example of a hot start or a check-in for today's event. This is a poll. It's an open-ended poll. Feel free to answer the question using the poll. What is the best virtual experience and what made it special? So looking back at your experience, try to pull those memories and see, hey, what was the one thing that I really, really enjoyed and what made it special? And drop it for us here. Why is this a hot start? Because today's session is about virtual engagement and event design, virtual event design. And so inviting participants to already be in that state of mind of the topic, what we're talking about at the beginning, really brings back all their insights and their personal experiences to the conversation. Okay, we already see some of the answers popping in. You also see that tiny little heart that you can actually like the questions that you, or the answers that you find insightful. Being able to interact with others. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Setting intentions before the event. That's really important. A game session. I need to find objects. Multisensory. There we go, Ece. Hopping platform. Chat together, network, share idea.
I love all these ideas, actually. This is super useful for some of the sessions we are also running.
So this is how you're turning an Ana Maria monologue into a knowledge sharing activity, right? Pulling in all of the experiences from your participants, from everyone in the room. All right. I thank you very much. If I am clicking now ending poll, because I've set up the voting or the likes option, I also see the most popular answer here. So this can be actually very well used for Q&As and having people, you can structure the question based on how many people are actually interested in hearing the answer to that question. So that's a different use case for this type of poll. All right. And then one other example that I am bringing is the flashcards, and I want to actually show you how I am using them as a check-in or warm-ups. Especially some of them are perfect for big sessions, like this one. Where in the world are you? So this is people are able to drop in their avatars on the map. So it creates this very visual, beautiful image of the diversity, cultural diversity that we have in the session. So I like to use this as, hey, welcome to the session. Tell me where you're tuning in from, right? A lot of Europe. Europe is covered. Okay, cool. As well as the emojis. So please tell me which emoji represents your mood today or your mood this week or how you're feeling right now, right? So this is a quick way to check room temperature. And people bring emotions with them because we're humans. And so especially if your session is quite heavy and you have to probably co-create something or brainstorm something, it's really important that we check that everyone's in the session is in the right state of mind for that, or invite them to do any type of tweaks, adjustments into their environment to be present and be able to fully contribute to the session. I stole this one from one of our community members. Where are you on a scale from 0 to goats? There's one with cats. You can have one with, I don't know, your favorite animal, elephants. So these are just examples that I like to use. And then another activity, another hot start is this strongly agree, like kind of the ends of a conversation, especially if you really want to create conversations and have interaction in there. The challenging the questions and the complex the questions, the more variables you will have and the richer conversation you will be able to add into your events. You can actually design the prompt and have it obviously any prompt you would like. And then this is one of the things that the IH, I think, mentioned in the poll, that, oh, I really like sessions where I get to like gamify it, and I have to do something, and it's a treasure hunt in my house. This is something that I use in some of the sessions. It's called a treasure hunt, and then I prompt people to go and find in their space something shiny, something alive. If you call an avocado alive, I think they're alive. So people can get very creative, and you can add prompts. And this is about it. I don't know, am I missing something here? Some other examples, Jessica, these are different ways that you can actually use the flashcards. And let me do this one thing, or maybe I do that later. Never mind. Okay.
No, go. We're all excited.
So this is how you build suspense. And let me do this. Okay, no, I'm going to do it later. I'm going to do it at the end of the session. And actually, if you stay till the end, I forgot to mention this, but if you stay till the end, you might be surprised. Leaving it there for you. There we go.
That's a great segue into this next topic. No, I'm kidding. Actually, like just to recap, like I think Anna Maria, let's all give Anna Maria a quick round of applause for those first insights that she shared. If you press quick tip, if you haven't found it yet, S2. And here you can found that soundboard. Just a super easy thing to get your sessions to be a bit more engaging. Okay. Let me turn that off.
Disable them if you want to get anything done, though.
Yeah, turn that off. No, but as Anna Maria mentioned, it really all starts with creating that idea of making sure that when people are entering, inviting that sort of engagement and inspiration very early on, and letting them also share something of themselves, share a bit of their personality, share some about how they're feeling, so that you all get them a lot more comfortable when it's like inviting someone to your home, right? Like you need to invite them to your space and make them feel comfortable enough, vulnerable enough, even if you're handling much more sensitive event topics before getting into the meat of things. And for this one, actually, this is something I'm super interested to learn, to see how you guys will be doing this. We're actually just going to be stopping for a minute to see about, or like basically to talk about what happens next after you kick off that initial session. And here, what you want to do is essentially help you change up the dynamics of your session and get people to reflect, to be a bit more reflective, and get them to interact with each other in very different ways. For this part of the session, Anna Maria, let me know if I'm missing out on anything, but we actually want to share with you this interesting play called in 1, 2, 4 all, which is a liberating structures type of interaction, wherein we'll be using breakouts and actually pairing you up and making you do certain activities and reflection prompts. Okay, and just going through this exercise, what we're essentially doing is Anna Maria will be sharing a link in the chat on what this liberating structures is all about. And this type of activity, the 1, 2, 4 all activity, is something that scales with the size of the group. So in terms of what we'll be doing, for the first minute, I'll be opening up this prompt. What I want you guys to do is essentially think about the concrete actions that you're doing in your own communities to make your events quite special. We'll do this in 1 minute in silence, and just think of the things that you're currently doing and put it down in your private notes here in Butter. So for you to be able to access that, it's just a tiny little pencil icon in your left-hand side, or you can also press N to open it. Let me put on this timer now. So we all have a minute to think about this and just reflect on what concrete actions we're doing now to make your event special. Okay, while everyone's sort of thinking through that, we do have 30 seconds left. I'll just explain the rest of what we're going to be doing. So after this silent reflection, we'll be putting you into breakout. So first, as a paired breakout, wherein you're actually going to be put into groups of 2, and then you'll be sharing these actions that you've noted down with each other. So this one, and Anna Maria, how many minutes did we put in here? 2 minutes. Okay. 2 minutes for this one. And then after that, after you've discussed with each other in pairs, we'll be breaking you out into groups of 4 for 4 minutes again, just to share and basically find the patterns in what each individual pairing have actually shared. So try to find the similarities, the differences, and basically the interesting insights based on what you guys have noted down. Okay? Any questions so far before we put you into breakouts? And then after everyone has shared, we'll be inviting you back into the main room to basically share some of the interesting nuggets that you guys have found while you were in breakout sessions. So as I mentioned, this sort of activity can be quite helpful when it comes to leading larger groups, more especially because for us to be able to foster better connections in these sort of events, there is a type of dynamic that you can find in the type of more intimate interaction when you put them into smaller groups. So that's something we're also encouraging you to do in this next exercise. Okay, I'm gonna be starting the breakout now.
Wait, once I have them open, Jessica.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So just a quick recap. We're going into the breakout rooms. We are going to be in pairs or groups of 3. I think we also have. And you only have 2 minutes to quickly share your notes. Afterwards, we're not going to be coming back, but we are going to pair the groups, and you're going to work in groups of 4 for 4 minutes this time. 4 minutes this time. Finding similarities, finding differences, and after the whole 6 minutes are gone, we're going to come back here and see what emerged. Okay, there we go. We're starting the breakouts. Have fun. The prompt is the same, and we'll be waiting for you there. Welcome back. And hi, Diane. Welcome,
Hello,
welcome.
how are you?
Hello. Good. All right. I want to hear some voices from the room. What happened in the breakouts? What emerged? Could you find some similarities? Has someone said something that kind of like blow your mind and you were like, oh my God, wow, this changed my life? Let us know. Feel free to use the queue or simply unmute and talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I thought it was really interesting that, there's a lot of discussion related to talking, but in our group, there was quite a discussion related to silence and pausing. So I thought that was very interesting because it does like that difference and allowing that space to just kind of have some moment for everyone to think or to is so great to continue kind of the conversation and for everyone to kind of come together in that moment. So that was interesting for me.
Yes.
But I do concur, like silence is one of the more powerful tools in some of these sessions. Not just when it comes to breakouts, but even when it comes to meetings and such. Yeah. Anyone else who would want to share certain nuggets that they got a bit of an aha moment from?
Doesn't have to be life-changing. Regular ideas are welcome too. We like them. They are the ones that actually, move the needle. Innovations are overrated.
I think for some people that are new to the tool, there's a lot to be handling at the same time. So there was kind of a wave of information and what to look for and where to click and everything. So there's that part when you're trying to concentrate. There's a lot of information coming from Butter. And good one, I like it. I love it actually. But yeah, so there's a lot of things to be looked at, and where do I click and how do I move around? And at the same time, I have to think about something, which is sometimes a big wave for some people. So I think that is, and Cheska and Anna-Maria, that a lot of people, when they just come in, they have to find their way, and you're doing an excellent job. But in the breakout, some people have to understand the breakouts itself, like because it's a different way of information. I don't know if it makes sense for you guys, but I was with some newbies in my room, and that was kind of another thing that we mentioned.
Lia's raising a hand there. She's like, what is this? What are all those whistles and there's things moving around? It can be overwhelming. And hey, I'm guilty of really trying to take this to extreme, right? So guilty as charged. Okay, thank you, everyone. I hope you were able to get some ideas from what everyone else is doing and their thoughts. And I'm going to move us along to the second part of the framework. And this is the exploring part. So we've now opened up the session. We launched, and we are now somewhere in the middle, just like where we are right now. The session has started, and we're doing something. Your participants, your hosts, we're all busy doing things. And exactly as Benoit says, and I think all of you have mentioned a couple of points that I had on my slides, and I'm not going to insist too much. But the challenge here is, how do we keep everyone equally involved, like designing for an inclusive session? How do we manage the energy in the room? Is everything working? Like, are we on track? Is everything going according to the plan? Are people taking away the things they're supposed to be taking away? Are we meeting their expectations? And how do we shift between our process and our agenda and what the participants actually need ad hoc in the session? And so a couple of tips here: mind the space you're creating or the interface, and pick the right tools based on your design. The tool comes after. What do I want to do? Which tool enables me to do that, right? Design for conversation and connection. And this is linked to the third point of variety in conversation formats. I am a huge fan of liberating instructions that I popped in the chat. I love 1, 2, 4 all. I love running fishbowls, world cafes, lean coffees. These are all formats that are really well known. A quick Google search will give you tons of resources and ways to host them. But basically, we know that in community events or community management, we actually go for a variety of Q&As and masterminds and masterclasses and webinars and panels and so on. And whenever you're inviting people in that space, adding some variety beyond the formats, and this is exactly what Benoit was mentioning. How do we increase the energy? Like, when do we go like really pum, 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 and there's stuff moving and there's sounds and so on? And when do we actually want to lower the energy and have a focus, a clearer mind, and like time to digest? How do we move between silence and talking, as well as how do we move between individual work? I just take 5 minutes in silence, maybe some relaxing music in the background. No one is talking, or just doing our work and our thinking, to group work and to plenum discussions, and how do we facilitate them, right? So try to play around with this. And not all of the events that you're running will allow for that, because different formats require different variety in elements. So really cool to do this quick pulse checks. I sometimes like everyone, hey, is everything clear? Give me a thumbs up. Or do you have any questions? Let's stop here for a second and see if anyone has any question, if things are clear or unclear before we move on to the next parts. And then a couple of things that I really try to be mindful of whenever I design, especially workshops, like very highly engaged sessions. I probably wouldn't necessarily apply them to webinars. Participants work more than you do. So if you're running a participative collaborative session and you're doing the majority of the work, something is going wrong there. You talk the list, so be comfortable with silence. Again, in highly collaborative sessions, you as a host, you take the back seat and you allow the conversation to emerge, and you're there to guide it and structure it. And design for inclusivity. And in here, a couple of examples are always try to have at least one other option of how people can engage. So if I say, do you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, use the queue, or use the chat. If you want to take notes, feel free to grab a notebook or use the notes. These are different ways for people to engage. And if you have a Miro board and there's sticky notes, they can also probably an inclusive way of looking at that task is just drop your ideas in the chat if you find it too challenging to move around the Miro board, right? So how do we give people options to engage and to contribute to the session? And so I think I'm going to skip the next breakouts because we had another breakout prepared, but I do want to make sure, or maybe I can open it for a couple of minutes for you to see it. Just as use case, right? This is something, I mean, I love butter. Ha ha ha. But I have to say that using breakout rooms, it is probably one of my favorite ways to engage in sessions. So whenever I get the opportunity to do that, I will do that. Breakout rooms allow your participants to move from room to room at their own will. So if I open it for 10 minutes, I design my rooms in the beginning, even prior to the session. And in each room, I can prompt them to do something different, to have a different conversation. It's a different invitation. And they can use those 10 minutes to jump from room to room and contribute to those different conversations and meet different people. If you are running things like on conferences in your community where the agenda is built by the participants and then they each go to a different room to run their sessions, this is perfect. As well, if you're running World Cafe conversations where at different tables, there's a different conversation going on, and then the people are moving from table to table, right? This is what the breakout rooms are for. Benoit.
Do you have someone staying in the rooms to kind of co-facilitate if there's a subject, if there's a specific subject, or would you just let people just moving and then they happen to be in an empty room because everyone left to go somewhere else? Just kind of wondering.
Yeah. So it really depends on the rules you're setting and the purpose. The way I set the rooms up for today, and I can open them for a minute, 2 minutes, so you can just browse them. I added a different mural board with a different question, a different invitation to each of the rooms. And in that room, actually the invitation would be, you have 10 minutes or 5 minutes to browse through the rooms. You're not talking to anyone. In each of the room, you will find a different prompt, and it's you alone with your sticky notes, right? Because this is how I decided to design this. And it's a self-reflection on the 3 questions. There are 3 rooms. If there is a World Cafe, and actually I really want to harvest, and the purpose is in not self-reflection, but truly the conversation, I would most probably bring co-facilitators for each of, if that's my main event, an hour and a half of conversation, I would probably bring a co-facilitator in each of the rooms and make sure that the conversation flows where it has to, that people are involved, and, you know, take care of the group dynamics. So it really depends on your purpose, your resources, your time, and the goals for your event. I'm not sure if that answered your question, Benoit, but that's at least from my experience. So maybe I'm just going to open them for a minute so you can see them and experience them, and we're going to regroup here to continue. Ta-ta. Yes. Okay, I am just impressions about the breakouts. Is this something that you would use? Is this something that you find applicable to your use case for your events, your community? Quick show of hands. Yes, maybe if I think about it, or nah, not really applicable. Okay, I see some hands. I see some smiles. Yeah. Okay.
Yusha is a bit unsure yet.
All right, Jessica, should we land?
We shall, and we shall land very, very quickly, actually. So just in the interest of that, hopefully not, but we can put this as that. But given that we have 8 minutes, I'll just try to squeeze in as much as possible in this section. But with the whole idea of like launching, exploring, like we also want to make sure that in all our events, there is a very nice landing for your participants, right? Because at any, like if you try to remember all the memorable events you've been or online sessions, what usually sticks is primarily the opening, like how you were greeted, how you were made comfortable, and then the insights that were shared during the sessions when you're exploring with other people, but also the feeling of how it's closed by the host or the facilitator really matters a lot. And as with the exploration part, the purpose and also the outcomes that you actually want in this session is super important when it comes to the landing. You need to be able to tie it up very nicely for your participants and actually ask them in terms of the goals for this one, like what happened during the session. Ask them to synthesize if needed. And also, if it were a session where you've asked them to co-create, to brainstorm on something, to actually create something meaningful during the session, it would be nice to have some follow through after. So, in the form of asking them to recap or actually having action points that they can then continue on and follow through even after the session. For me personally, I think this is one of the more powerful things that can happen after any type of session, whether it be an event, a workshop, a training, so on and so forth, because you're making sure that the impact that you create is not just limited to the session, but you're actually asking them and inviting them to even continue on with whatever they've discussed or they've ideated, brainstormed on even after. So you're making sure that there's a bit of a loop for your participants to even engage, even in your community, for example. Um, and if it were a session wherein you've actually asked them for example, a retrospective with your community, things where you've asked them for feedback, it would actually be nice to capture that much more concretely. And there's a bunch of exercises that you can use to do this. So one go to Anna Maria, I think you always use this. It's the rosebud and thorn exercise, or asking them to evaluate what you can do more of next time, just to make sure that they can actually synthesize or crystallize their thoughts a bit better. So by giving them some of these frameworks to think, you're inviting more structured feedback to come in after your session. So those are the super quick tips. Just to recap some of the landing techniques that you can use. First is when you're running events, when decisions are made, or even co-creation sessions, land with an action plan. If you're running things like these learning sessions, it would actually be nice to ask them to echo back the learnings to you by using things like a poll in Butter, wherein you ask them to share what's the best thing that they've learned in the session. And for the last thing, making sure that making sure to invite feedback from your participants in a much more structured and framework-based way. So with those techniques, also obviously ending on a very high note also matters for this. For me, at least, when it's a large session, my go-to is always the sounds and the reactions. I know it can be a bit chaotic, as Ben already pointed, but it's a nice way to just put a smile on people's faces before they leave. And it invites them to almost celebrate the nice win that they have that they've had in the session. And for today, actually, what we'll be doing is, like, if you can share with us something that's stuck with you during the session in terms of what you've learned, that would be something that would be really, really great for us to know. So there's a poll that's open now. You can pop in your answers there. And again, feel free to upvote if there are answers you also resonate with. Anna Maria, is this you? No, I'm kidding.
No, but that could have well been me. It isn't this time. Love the takeaways. Refresh on Butter, self-reflection, add variety. Moments of silence, breaking the flow of information. Keep it simple, like the opposite of what we've been doing today. Don't do what we did today. All right.
Let's enter.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Jessica, for lending us. We're reaching the end of the session, and I do want to end on a reflection or a last question for you guys. And if you recall that I've mentioned at the beginning that you might be in for a surprise, you might, like, something might or might not happen. We don't really know. This is all a big experiment, everyone. But I'm curious to know if, from everything that was discussed today, from your personal experience attending event, hosting events, if you can identify, if we were to decide what is one secret ingredient, the secret sauce that you're pouring over each experience you're designing, which one would it be? What would you say? What's the secret sauce? Can you guess it? Ranch, there we go. Unmute and tell me. What might that be? Butter, of course. AJ, of course. Besides that, actually, this is what secret ingredient? Butter. Oh,
yeah.
it wasn't even planned, but
There's a theme
one,
here,
good.
no?
Yes.
I think
Anything else?
being prepared is like designing beforehand, and being prepared is the most important part.
All right. Any other ideas? Any other thoughts?
Well,
Unmute and tap popcorn.
involving the audience, keeping the audience engaged.
Okay, yes. Anything else?
For me, I think
Time.
it's sorry.
Time.
Time. Yeah, I was also kind of mentioning that, but in terms of, like, for me, it's building the experience throughout a somehow storytelling way, so you keep people always with you there.
All right. Storytelling, having a plan, time, which is something that we don't have right now. So that's why I'm going to tell you what my secret sauce is. I try to invite as many emotions in my sessions. Design for surprise, design for connection, design for creativity, design for shock, design for the unexpected. Sometimes I manage, sometimes I don't, but I would be very curious to hear also if you know, maybe a reflection to take away. What were some of the emotions that you experienced in today's session, and what was the prompt? What was the nudge? What prompted you to feel that way? Positive emotions are brilliant, and sometimes, depending on the session, you might want to really generate those strong we call them negative, but they're actually strong emotions that are able to move and produce change. Whenever we feel something, that makes it memorable and it sticks. All right. So now, to close it off, I really would like to invite you all to check your emails and to read an email that comes from Cheska.
Bingo.
Read it really, 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 really careful, okay? Read it careful. Refresh that email.
Done.
Where is the email? Maybe check spam as well. Right? Cheska sometimes lands there.
Yeah, sometimes.
Unfortunately. No email
So
yet.
read, no email yet? Oh no. Okay, I can see. At least on my end, it's been sent. Hopefully there's none.
Let's shower her with applause.
I just realized, without any context, that sounds very culty.
Butter is live. Okay, Eche won our super secret funky giveaway, and this is our idea on how to end the session on a high note. Thank you everyone for joining. Feel free to drop us a GIF/GIF in the chat with how was the session for you. If you were to summarize the session in a GIF/GIF, I never know how this is pronounced.
GIF.
Which one would it be? GIF? Okay. There are debates all over. Like this is a matter of crucial importance. All right. Happy
Oh.
Wednesday. Wow. Oh, okay.
That's
All
awesome.
righty. Is butter a carb?
Thanks to everyone for being so game for this. It's like
Thanks,
very
everyone.
emotions.
Soundboard is enabled for all. Let's hear it loud,
Thank
loud, loud,
you.
and then enjoy the rest of your days and hope to see you all very, very soon. We'll be sharing slides and a couple of butter templates that you can just grab and use.
Thank you so
Thank
much, guys. Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Smooth like butter.